Just over 2 weeks ago, on the 24th of July, I made a video called Wildgate Won't Survive the Year. The video did pretty well, with 22,000 views, 411 likes and 66 dislikes. And the majority of people that watched the video did agree with me, but there was a portion which didn't. And those people are the Wildgate players. Since that video, Wildgate has lost 81% of its player base. So I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. From the beginning, I said I enjoyed the game. I played the playtests, there were multiple of them, I played 2, I think there may have been more, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I played 10 plus hours of the game. But like many others, I thought the final release of the game was going to be a free-to-play title, and when I saw it release at 30 GBP or $34, $35 US, I couldn't justify spending that amount of money on it. And this is what I said the vast majority of the gaming audience will also say. And if you went to their Reddit thread at any point during the release day, there were hundreds of users saying this, and many of the reviews on Steam also said that people couldn't justify the price tag and therefore refunded the game after buying. Another problem is that getting your friends to purchase the game was a difficult sell, because you essentially had to try and convince 3 of your friends to also buy the game at $30, $35, whatever it may be for you. And like I said, that's a hard sell. Many people struggled to convince a group of their friends to buy this. Therefore, it left them playing solo queue, which wasn't an enjoyable experience. And because of the lack of friends playing the game, they also refunded or stopped playing. And finally, some people who thought the game was awesome and were willing to spend the money couldn't justify supporting a game that had free-to-play monetization strategies, but also an upfront cost. Myself and many others went through these talking points in our videos, in our Reddit posts, in our social posts, in our Steam reviews, in their Discord, and we were just met with a wave of responses along the lines of, L, you're a hater, you just want free-to-play games. You all buy COD for $70 a year in their battle passes and every other live service game, and you'll spend $200 on skins and blah blah blah. And I'm sorry, but anyone who commented stuff like that as a response, you were, and maybe still are, in denial. Like I said, the game has lost 81% of its player base. It is currently sat at 700 people playing, and the peak of the last 24 hours is 1,500. The Steam charts graph for this game is just a diagonal line that goes from left to right in a downward trend. And at its going rate, this game will have less than 1,000 users concurrently online by the end of next week, meaning that almost certainly my assumption of Wildgate not surviving the year is very much true and on point. It probably won't even survive until the end of next month. Some Wildgate players have finally realised this and come to their senses. Therefore, their Reddit is now filled with comments such as, please address the player count ASAP and take some action. Don't let it just play out until the game dies. This is one of the most popular posts on their Reddit at the moment. It reads, player count should be addressed ASAP, some action needs to be taken. Don't let it play out until numbers bottom out. I would recommend some, but ideally many, of the following ideas. A free week plus 50% off sale after, or just reduce the price permanently to 50%. Give everyone who purchased the game a code to give their friend a free copy. Go free to play entirely, and give everyone who purchased the game in-game currency to cover the cost of the original game. And 1 week where you make the game free to own if added to your Steam account. A small indie game called Guntouchables did this recently apparently, and it worked incredibly well for them. They hit a peak player count of 16,000 and currently have 10,000 people playing. Now, there's a couple of issues with some of these ideas. I believe that you can't just change the pricing of your title. You can definitely apply discounts. The only limitation with discounts is that you must have a 30-day gap between each discount, which I believe also includes your release date. If you don't have a launch sale, then you have to wait 30 days, I believe. So Wildgate maybe has to wait a couple more days until they can do a sale. I would heavily advise a sale at maybe 40 to 50% off if they can. But yeah, you can't just like change the base pricing of your game, I don't believe. As for going free to play entirely, I have seen titles do this. So that, that could be an option, but that requires a lot of work, as you would need to rethink monetization. They do already have freemium monetization in the game, but I'd say it's not enough to solely depend on. But if they could spend some time making some more store items and bulk up the store a bit, maybe that's an option for them. And then the idea of giving everyone codes to give to their friends, I'm not sure about that one. You just lose out on a bunch of money by doing that. I think this game's core problem was that it was too steep of a price tag. I think many of the users that were on the fence would have been willing to part with like $15, $16, $17 rather than 30 something. Essentially, if this game was half the price, I think the player count would be a lot higher right now. And I've said this before, but what a lot of companies fail to realize is that if you price something at a more affordable price point, you actually make more money in the long run because the barrier to entry is lower. It absolutely baffles me that so many companies fail to realize that zero sales of something priced at $50 is still $0, for example. But if you price something incredibly cheap and millions of people buy it, you make millions of dollars. What a concept! Who would have thought? So, in my eyes, the solution to increasing player count is simple. A Steam sale must begin with a discount of at least 40%. This sale can run up to 2 weeks in length. That is how long Steam allows you to run a sale for, and then you'll have to go on a 30-day break. This is an excellent test to see if people are willing to part with a lower amount of cash for the game. And if they do, congratulations, the next 30 days after that, where you can't lower the price of the game, you don't have to worry about because you've already gained more users during the time where you were discounted. And this isn't an alien strategy to Steam. So many developers do this. Some of the biggest developers in the world do this with their titles once they reach end of life. For example, EA puts Battlefield 2042, Battlefield 5, Battlefield 4, and Battlefield 1 on a 90% off sale every 30 days. This means that during this time, a wave of people buy the game, and during the time where it's normal price, basically nobody buys the game. But you don't have to worry, because you know that in 30 days' time, there's a massive sale coming up again. This strategy has allowed previous Battlefield games to keep tens of thousands of players online every single month. And some of these games released like 9, almost 10 years ago, and still have shy of 10,000 concurrent users. It's a proven strategy, and hell, sometimes some people might not realize that you go on sale so much and they may buy your game at its full price. The reason for this is more confidence in the game. When they see more reviews, when they see more players online when checking SteamDB or Steam charts, they're filled with more confidence, and therefore they're more likely to buy the game at full price. Whereas now, I don't think anyone would be willing to buy the game at full price when they see the state of the player base. Another problem that this game is having, and will have even more of if it doesn't create a mass influx of players at one given time, is that some people are now very experienced at the game in comparison to newcomers, and that creates a bad experience for many. Some have admitted that they've refunded because they don't like spawning into a game and getting absolutely destroyed. It still seems like many people don't actually really know how to play the game. This is another thing that I said this game will struggle with. The player onboarding process is basically non-existent. It just throws you in, and if you're not good at the game, you're gonna get stomped, and it's not fun. However, a large influx of players will mean that the experienced players are dwarfed in numbers, and then there is less of a risk of those people having a bad time. If you bring in 2,000 inexperienced users at once, for example, they can mingle with the others and match with each other and might have a fun experience, but if you only bring in 50 new users, they're likely going to match with some pretty experienced players in comparison to them and have a bad time, and ultimately just leave the game. Wildgate now is at a time where it kind of needs a bit of a reset button. It needs to not relaunch, but reposition itself in price point, and therefore get a new wave of, one, players who weren't willing to spend $30 but will be willing to spend $15, $16, and a new wave of players who've never discovered the game before. And finally, people have been complaining about one other thing I said, and that is that the game got boring very quick. People that put lots of hours in have said they're now bored of playing the same modes on the same looking map. Even though it's randomly generated, it still gets stale quick and it feels and looks the same. The fact of the matter is, from the get-go, this game didn't have enough content to justify a $30 price tag, and therefore it's paying the price. Do you know who isn't paying the price? New users. They're not paying the price of the game. Lower the price of the game, go on sale, and I'm sure you'll see more success for this game. Continue those sales leading on, and you should be fine. Will the devs do this? I have no idea. I don't know what kind of people they are. I don't know if they're like obliged by contract to keep the game at a certain price because of publishers and stuff like that. I have no idea who's in control of the pricing of the game. We'll see what happens. I saw this coming from a mile away, and so did many others, but the player base was in denial and maybe even fueled the developers to keep the game at a premium price tag. We'll see what happens with Wildgate. My next video on this game will either be one of two things. The game has died, or the game has successfully stayed alive. We'll see. Thanks for watching this one, and a bit of a plug. If you also want to try another game which will likely die on release, I'm releasing a game. It's just a fun little third-person shooter project that myself and a couple of people made over the space of the past 4 years in our spare time. It's called Cross Planet, and we currently have just shy of 6,000 wishlists on Steam, which is pretty cool. It releases on the 22nd of August, and it would be cool to have some of you try the game, give us feedback, and just have a fun time playing with myself, the devs, my community, and get some hours in and see what we built in our spare time. It's very Halo meets Gears with elements of Quake or Unreal Tournament in there. So if you like arena shooters, then this could be something for you to sink an hour or two into. We're not expecting anything major. We don't have a massive marketing budget. The game is entirely free. There are no microtransactions. There is no upfront cost. Just a fully free title to get some game dev experience and see what people think, and who knows where it will take us from there. So if you're interested, wishlist Cross Planet on Steam and play the game with me on August 22nd. If you do, I'll see you there. If you don't, thanks for watching the video anyway, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.